Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Christmas special of the Amazon Nomads podcast. I am the current host talking with Thomas Parkinson and Gavin Sweeney. How are you guys doing? Where are you? Where have you been? Go.
I'll jump in. I'll go first.
Okay.
So right now in Mexico City, I'm going to go spend Christmas with my girlfriend and New Year's in Mexico, basically. And then January, I'm going to the Philippines for a month to go meet my staff, which would be quite nice. But Mexico right now, I haven't really done much traveling the last. Last week we were in Cancun for a week, so that was all on points. So that was really good. So yeah, I'm quite happy, and the weather's good here. Like I know you guys are cold in the UK, and the US is quite cold. My apartment today right now is 21 degrees C. I'm living it. Loving it. Gavin?
It is super warm today. I've just arrived from Thailand. I am in Mexico City. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that I don't think I have jet lag, but I'm not sure. I keep waking up at 3 a.m. wide awake. So I go for a run.
Yeah, that is jet lag. I would
But
class.
no,
I
but
would class that.
really? But I normally wake up quite early anyway. I'm like a 5 a.m., 6 a.m. kind of guy. But here's the thing, I have so much energy. Like with jet lag, aren't you tired? Like that's
Yeah.
part of the issue. You're tired? Yeah, I went for a run at 4 a.m. this morning. I'm definitely not tired.
You're just so excited to be back in Mexico.
I am pretty excited to be back in Mexico, actually. It's like, I was
Why?
telling Tom
Tell us-
yesterday,
tell us why.
like, Thailand is amazing, but it's very bloody hot and humid, and it's very hard to get into a working habit there. And the internet is very
So
poor.
let's find out where Seth is, and then we can ask you all about Thailand, and you can tell us all about top tips and tricks about traveling and doing it. Let's do that. Seth, where are you today?
Okay, I travelled back to my parents' house in Hertfordshire, which is about 15, 20 miles north of London. There's currently no water in our road, so I can't have a shower or anything. And it's 10 degrees. It's a bit cold. I mean, it's not too cold. I've got my Christmas jumper on, and life is fantastic. Looking forward to Christmas festivities with no water in the house.
I heard the whole of the UK has got no water right now.
Yeah,
Like the south.
it's
Big
not
problem.
ideal. I mean, would probably prefer to be in Mexico currently, but what can you
Are
do?
they all on
My
strike?
sister texts me that everyone's on
keep-
strike.
In the UK, yeah, I keep hearing on the UK, everyone's just on strike permanently. It's like a permanent strike now.
Yeah, like nurses, there's loads of rail strikes going on. It's all a bit of a mess, really. Great times.
Oh my God.
And then-
Right.
and then-
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so obviously today we're going to go through two things. Number one, Gavin's come back from Thailand, and he's going to tell us all about his trip and what he's learned, and maybe what he's going to advise you not to do. And then second of all, what we're going to go through is Seth is going to tell us about how book selling has been over Q4, and maybe it hasn't been as good as what you might hope it has been. So let's start off with Gavin. Gavin, take it away. Tell us about Thailand.
All right.
What did you do, and what was it? What did you learn? First time in Thailand.
Okay, so I went to Bangkok for 4 days. And actually, I flew Qatar business class, which is bloody good. It's kind of like, it's similar to British Airways first class. The service was that good. Anyway, got in Bangkok, was jet lag so bad though. Like, my sleep schedule, and I was tired for like 4 or 5 days. Then we went to Koh Samui. Now, I can say one thing for Koh Samui. Don't go during November. It's rainy season, and Jesus Christ, does it rain, man. It's insane. But what about Koh Samui then? The food there is really good. There's a lot to do there, but it's very quiet as well. Like, the issue I had was the internet. The internet was so slow. So I basically lost all of my working habits. All of it went out the window. The internet was slow. And the culture of Thailand seems to be like, from what I've seen, is quite a lazy culture. And lazy as in like everything moves slow. People wake up very late. Things don't happen quick. What do you think, Tom? Am I right or am I wrong here?
I wouldn't call them lazy, and I don't think that's fair. Like you've been there for like what,
Yeah.
5 weeks, and I don't think you can call them,
2
people lazy.
months.
By the way, you're on an island, and
Yeah,
I think
exactly. You're
people
on the
are
party
going-
island.
Yeah, and so like it's a bit more. It's a different lifestyle. If you were going to spend time in Bangkok, you wouldn't be able to call them lazy. My God, like the place is insane. Obviously, you've been to Bangkok, so I think we talked about it yesterday. We talked about it where you said things don't happen till nighttime. Like 11 o'clock, everything's starting to pick up and get really busy. Like the markets are bustling, and that's it is. Gavin's a morning person, so like nothing's going on. Like he wants to hustle and bustle in the morning. It's not happening. It's nighttime. That's Thai culture, and. But also as well, I appreciate that you're on an island, on the south, the middle of like Thailand. Like your internet might not be the best, and obviously Koh Samui isn't renowned for its business district. So, I think well done to you. Like, honestly, seriously, well done to you for going. So many people dream of it but don't actually do it or talk about it, and you've actually done it. And also, you've done it for a good amount of time. 2 months, well done. You've seen a bit as well. The thing which I would really like to ask you, and more for other people who are listening, because Seth and I have done obviously Thailand before, is not so much about Thailand itself, but like, what did you learn about working and traveling? Like, what advice can you give around that if anyone's watching? What didn't work? What would you do differently?
I would try and understand the culture more where I'm traveling to, and then see if I can fit my habits around into that. Because obviously you said it right. I'm a massive morning person. That does not work for Thailand. So what I learned is that, like, if I wake up at 6 a.m., nothing is open in Thailand until about 11. So there's 5 hours until anything is open and I can do something. So I think being aware of that is important, and just making sure you always have somewhere with very good internet.
And what about like working routines and habits? You said like everything went out the window. Like, what did you learn from that?
Yeah, that's it. Having somewhere with good internet. It's like the way you maintain your routines is by having the right facilities in place. Like, if your Wi-Fi is that bad, you get lazy, you'll get annoying, right? It gets frustrating. So then your habits will slowly disappear. Also, I think I lived about 10 minutes away bike ride from a gym. So that's quite far for me. Right now, I just do like a 4-minute walk. So I'm quite a lazy person though. I like convenience. And that's why I like City Life, because everything is so convenient. You got like Uber, that kind of stuff. Don't really have that in Koh Samui. You do in other areas, but really you're kind of like driving around everywhere. And what helps me with habits is like being in a walkable city as well, just like walking places. So if I need a breather to like go and think, I can just go for a walk, have a think. Do that in Bangkok. Oh my god, my jeans were sticking to my leg. It's so hot.
Well, the humidity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why would you wear jeans in Thailand? That's just rookie error.
Especially in Bangkok. Oh my god.
But Gavin, can I just dig in a little bit into how you think your trip to Thailand affected your Amazon business? So like, you obviously sounded like you worked less. Do you think it negatively affected your sales, or did you just have to like give more work over to your VAs? Like, how did it work?
So my USA business is pretty outsourced anyway, like 90% outsourced. The only thing that I wasn't able to do is start manually repricing all my items for Q4. So yeah, it definitely had a negative. Then on top, like on social media, Twitter, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So all that went out the window as well. What I decided was, because the internet is so bad and I'm not doing much there, I'll just enjoy Thailand to the fullest. I'll just have a fantastic time, and then I'll come back to stability and start working properly.
That's good policy. Enjoy your holiday, and now you're back to crushing it, I guess. How has your Q4 been anyway? Just speaking of, because we've only got a week left until Q1.
I think we're going to hit about 150k turnover, so it's definitely like a record month for us. We did like 98k turnover last month and 150k this month, so very good. I'm very happy with the team. The team's handling it all very well, but I'm very happy with Q4 overall.
I wonder how much of those sales are my books, Gav.
That's a good point.
Oh yeah,
probably about 20k.
Do you know?
There's a few in there. It would be interesting.
Really? Gavin's like probably like 149k a bit.
Gavin's kept quiet about that.
Well, if I take a percentage of the net profit, it's like I'm making money.
He's showing all the graphs.
So it's the same.
Yeah, I'm happy if you're happy.
Always happy, Seth. Although, a bit off topic here, I am investigating other niches. Okay, so 18,000 of the turnover in the last 30 days is from you, Seth.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not bad. It's pretty penny.
That's the most profitable turnover, isn't it, as well?
Probably.
Seth buys for $2, sells for $200.
Yeah, Seth's ROI is just so high.
Not all the time.
It's insanely high. And actually,
margin, I like, if I don't get anything, if I get under 90, I get completely upset.
Like,
oh yeah, fuck
I'm kind of changing the topic here quite a lot, but what I want to focus on in 2023 now is finding like a much more unique niche that isn't going to be.
I think that's a great way to turn the conversation.
Yeah, I didn't relate to it.
I'm serious.
Okay.
Talk us through it. Talk us through the full process. Like, how are you going to go about researching or thinking about how to find that unique
Okay, so
niche?
I already have the unique niche. It just requires a whole boatload of time into it, which I'm doing now, and it's a lot more operationally complex to set up. So I'm going through setup procedures, getting it all set up, and I'm starting to source myself. But this time, I'm not going to outsource this quite quickly. I'm going to source myself and handle it myself for a good, I'd say 2 to 3 months. I'm going to treat it like a full 9 to 5 job. And then after that, I'll begin outsourcing it. The reason being is that shoes is good, but here's the thing: if everyone does it, then margins is going to get slimmer and slimmer.
They really are.
Do you remember, like, a few months back, we had a conversation about the gift cards, right? So I've noticed that the guys supplying the gift cards, these guys have scaled from doing like $500 Kohl's gift cards to like $15,000 Kohl's gift cards. So if they've scaled that much, then they have a big consumer base, and most of that base is from Twitter, and they're doing shoes. And I've seen this in terms of my repricer. A lot of items has fell like so low below like the MSRP for the item itself that it becomes impossible to compete. So then you end up banning so many websites that use gift cards, and you have to change your niche within shoes. You're like niching within the niche. And actually, I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to look for another very unique niche that only I can do, or it's complex and not many people know about it. So that way, because I've seen how well you do, Seth. So it's kind of like an eye opener seeing how well you do as well, right? So it's like it makes more sense for me to invest time whilst I have time into this area, because my shoes is now like 90% outsourced. So I had the opportunity and a lot of free time to do that.
So is that the idea that you've got? Is that the thing that you mentioned to me at WeWork Waterloo a couple of months back? Oh, it's different to that. Okay, but yeah, as you say, it's funny though, because books is the lowest barrier to entry of all the categories, and yet people still sleep on it, which I'm obviously not mad about.
People don't talk about it, do they? Like, and also they think, and like it is talked about, but not as big. Like the OA scene is much bigger. Everyone talks about like wholesale. The biggest scene is private label. Then wholesale does massive volumes, which attracts marketing attention and eyes. And then OA is really easy to access and to source, which people get into. It's quite easy. But the books is like, I've not done books, but everything's ungated pretty much. So like it's really easy to access. And obviously,
other than the top publishers. Well,
and then also your cost of goods are like a fraction of what they would be percentage of revenue versus what you're paying on OA. So,
but yeah,
looks like we're all starting books next year.
But Tom, you spoke to Roma, didn't you?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that he's been doing books longer than me. He's got like restricted inventory, which people send him books, which most people are gated in. So I've actually used his service, not much, but I've used it a little bit. But I just find it funny that he's been doing it longer than me. He's got a big social following. His mentor's Caleb Roth, but I don't think he still understands like
he's doing OA
that I'm doing. Yeah, I know, but he's also still doing books, right? But I think
he does more OA than books.
Okay, right.
Don't quote me, but it's really like, but it's interesting. And obviously, if you go onto his website right now, he's promoting OA.
Yeah, selling courses, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like I get it. Like obviously, you're right. He doesn't see your model, and your model's like, my God, you're doing 7 figures on that.
Yeah, should be doing 1.6 mil this year.
That's sick.
Hopefully.
Way more profit than me at 3 million. Way more profit than me at 3 million.
Yeah, we'll see what the accountant says at the end of January. It will be interesting to see. But yeah, segue into what I'm doing at the moment is we've got 14,000 books. We've only got a restock limit of 9,000. So we've had to move warehouses to an FBM catered warehouse because my old prep center, who I might still use, don't do FBM. So we've had to kind of change all our processes up with our VAs. Obviously I've never done FBM before, right? So for example, when you get a buyer message, and you can always just fob them off if you're doing FBA and you say, oh, contact Amazon. I realise now that my admin VA was saying contact Amazon, and then they were saying, oh no, they're asking you to contact us. So I've had to obviously change our processes a bit with admin, with returns. I've had that little orange warning thing on Seller Central that says your account might be deactivated. We've had that come up a lot in the last few weeks because very scary, because our handling time wasn't set to 2 days. So some of our FBM orders weren't going out on time, and obviously it needs to be like under 4% over a certain amount of time. And then you also can't cancel, so like pre-cancellation shipments, right? I'm trying to look at it
sub 2% it should be.
What the metric? So it's like under 4% for late shipment rate, under 2.5% for pre-fulfillment cancel rate, and then you need to have like valid tracking numbers. And we had a mess up with the prep center, which meant that it thought that we had 2 books, but we only had 1. So we had 2 orders come in, and we had to cancel. So we've been having loads of these deactivation things come up, which is obviously quite worrying. We've got it under wraps now, but it's been a bit of like a tumultuous December compared to compared to doing FBA, right, which we all obviously
Easy.
sell the easy dream of FBA. They do customer service, they do shipping, everything. Now we, or my warehouse, are doing the shipping, and it's a bit more stressful, I'm not enjoying it as much. Amazon's not as fun when you have to
Is it more work?
Question for you: is there another marketplace you could sell on?
Well, you can sell on eBay, but you have to build up your listings on that. So because we can only sell 70 items, so you have to build.
You can buy an account.
Trust with eBay, and then
you can buy an eBay account.
Yeah, you could. No, yeah, and obviously you can do that, and we can sell on other book websites, which is fine, which I'm going to be looking into. But I don't think, from speaking to other booksellers, if you sell on other book sites, you're probably only going to make an extra 5 to 10% sales, which is obviously worth doing if you're making, if that's going to make me extra 160,000 sales. Obviously it's worth it, but it's not going to exponentially grow my business. So
yeah, I just think you're reaching one of it sounds like the limit you're reaching is the FBA. Like, could you? Yeah. Is there a way of getting like the question I'm trying to think about is like, multiple accounts, for example, for FBA, or like you are allowed multiple accounts for legitimate business reasons. So you could like create another company and call it Hasbro Only Books, and you only sell Hasbro through that company. So long as you never list anything in the other one, you could potentially get away with it. And that way you have multiple accounts selling different types of books.
I've been told they're really lenient now with people having multiple accounts. They're way less strict than they used to be.
Yeah, I still would stay within terms and conditions. I know one guy has multiple accounts and sells the same products on the same listings from his different accounts. That's exactly why you get suspended. And he's like, I didn't realize we've been doing it for years. I was like, stop doing it.
Never got
Seth, you still alive?
Oh yeah, looks like you disconnected.
Seth is like, Tom, good idea. I'm going to go do it right now.
He's gone.
Right now, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, he's already got it set up.
Here's a question for you, Gavin. Obviously, if anyone is watching, and obviously we went and had some lunch yesterday, and obviously it's great to have you back in Mexico City. And hey, I just say, by the way, well done for going to Thailand, seeing it. Everyone talks about it. It's an amazing place. Definitely go experience it. But also as well, I do really 100% understand your point about work environment, and also
to add to the working environment, the time zones is a mess.
Yeah.
So add that to it as well.
Yeah, but it's not. It's also time zones, and also you talked about it was like heat. I myself, if it's too hot, I can't work. So Mexico City, I love because the temperature is just beautiful all year round. The daytimes are always lovely. Just the winters get cold in the mornings, like you said this morning. But it's a good temperature. It's a good work environment. They've got like 17 WeWorks, loads of great offices and great internet as well. So, but those are considerations for when you're doing nomading. Being around that kind of thing. And I think that was why when I was in Thailand, and we said it to you, like go to Chiang Mai, they're a little bit cooler and they have really good internet and they have great co-working spaces as well, like proper offices with great seats and desks.
I want to go there next year.
So I think that's
Chiang
a good point.
Next year, I think, end of next year.
Should. Yeah. Vlad Chocky's over there now. I was like, I'm down in Phuket. I was like, mate, get away from that. Go up to Chiang Mai. It's like, there's no beach. It's like, get away from Phuket. Go to Chiang Mai. It's just party. But I'm sure right now he wants to party. That's the whole point. Seth, so obviously we're talking about different accounts. Is that something that you would consider?
Yeah, sorry, my internet was a bit crap there. I remember we spoke about this a while back, didn't we, Tom? We said that all you would need is a spreadsheet with a little count if formula to make sure that you don't cross over ASINs, because that's the one thing that Amazon doesn't like or allow.
We don't the only problem know, is, just kind of like make sure there's clear separation.
But my problem is that the turn rate is never going to be, unless we focus just on fast selling books, so under say 500k BSR, which you're obviously limiting yourself massively and with margin too, then the turn rate is never going to be fast enough for Amazon to increase your restock limits, right? So that
question for you: you've got 9,000 limit right now. Is that the default for every account?
No, 9,000 is quite high.
What, 1,000?
Yeah, 1,000,
isn't it?
No,
yeah,
1,000
is
what have you
everyone
got?
Starts on. So I've got 9,000.
Why did you get 9,000 if you're not like selling much?
Well, it went up to 45k last mid-year when everything was going better. But I think because Amazon's fulfillment centers are getting all stacked up and because of Q4, they've hammered her and everyone else, right?
Question for you, I don't know, I think I read somewhere that you can contact them and pay for extra storage space.
I don't think you can pay. You can. I've tried.
I think you can this year. You couldn't before. This Q4, you could ask them and they would charge you, but you would be able to have extra.
Right.
I swear I read that somewhere.
I thought specifically they don't let you, and actually I remember I I'm on an Amazon newsletter that said, and he was a bookseller, I think, and he was saying, I wish we could pay for space, but you can't. But
Yeah,
that could be outdated info.
No, like 100%, you're right. You couldn't do it before, but I think there's I read something quite I swear I just said it's in my mind. It was you could pay for it because if you're going to ship stuff in from China, you've got to have the big stock because you're trying to run it down. They were understanding how people were doing the businesses and how inventory limits are doing it, and they were willing to let you have it as long as you paid. It wasn't a great rate for you; it'd be fine, but it'd be worth just asking.
Yeah, I'd be happy to pay.
Yeah,
no, definitely.
I've
asked them just to increase our restock limits, but they didn't. They weren't having any of that. But I guess if you're paying, why would they say no? It seems odd. If you charge for storage, pay for it.
Maybe because operationally they're not interested.
Yeah.
People, it's kind of
they've got bigger fish to fry, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think by the way, it's kind of people go hey Tom, can I have an hour of your time? And I'm I'm busy, and they're like, but no, go on, I'll pay you. And then I'm like, okay, cool. My coaching rate's £500 per hour, and they're like, oh no, I'm not going to pay that. That's too high. And you're like, well, either you want an hour of my time and you're willing to pay it, or you're not. And obviously, there's a value for it. So Amazon will say, look, maybe they don't feel they can get away with charging as much as they'd want to make it worthwhile. I don't know. Why not multiple accounts? What's obviously because you've got this one up. Why couldn't you do get 1, 2, or 3 or 4, for example? Yeah, make Q4 next year a 45 minimum if it goes down.
Yeah, could do. I think it's just a lot of effort. It's a lot of admin effort.
Seth, I am curious though. How has this affected your relationship with your original prep center? Because you was their biggest customer.
It's a good question. I think Shanna at CVP is probably very much hoping that my restock limits go up, but there's not really another option. They don't do FBM. They don't have any intentions of doing that, so they can't facilitate what I need right now. Happy to use them again, but currently, yeah, I've thought about that. But that must be the case for all prep centers that do books, right? Because pretty much every bookseller has been hammered. They either can't send books in or can't send as many in. So surely all prep centers who are doing just books must be thinking about pivoting to regular OA or wholesale private label, because their margins must be getting smashed.
They should do the FBM side. My God,
they should do. Yeah,
this is how businesses are made. There's a change in the marketplace and there's opportunity, and either you adapt or you die.
Exactly, and we're in that zone where I've got to assess how powerful FBM can be, and if it's not going to make as much money as FBA, then I've got to start thinking about where to pivot the business, really, because.
And hey, you talked about it a minute ago, multiple accounts it just seems like admin. Man, it's all admin, it's all work. But my God, if that's that's kind of the same as a prep center. We're not going to do FBM. But if you're not going to do FBM, sorry, I'm going to go to another prep center, and guess what? You lose the business, the best client. The same as you. If you're willing to do the hard work, by the way, which is what you've done building a book business, then all of a sudden, what's happened is now, if you multiple accounts, for example, now you're going to build a really a business which has got way more kind of bigger moat around it because other people can't do it.
Yeah, my other potential solution was to find products, for example, what is it, light and fast, small and light, find a certain small and light products that sell absolute hotcakes, and don't worry about making any profit on them, just break even, and then that will increase the turn rate, so that then
just do wholesale.
My restock limit so high. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or wholesale. So that's my
small and light through wholesale. So you don't do OA. You just literally keep buying the same wholesale ship.
How long is it going to take you?
But will that infect your rate?
How long will it take you to sell 5,000 books to make that happen? How many months is that?
So why did you pick 5,000 out?
Your limit is 9,000 books that you can send in, but you have 14,000 books.
Oh right, yeah. So I'm hoping it's going to go up next month because it's textbook season, and Amazon's algorithm will realise that I should have a higher restock limit because we're going to sell more books next month, and it's going to be lucrative for Amazon to sell more books next month. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it goes back up,
and then you can fit in the wholesale items. So
exactly,
when would that happen?
And then hopefully that will start. Well, hopefully it should start happening from Boxing Day onwards, from the 26th of December, because that's when sales start to go pretty decent for textbooks right through to the end of January. But obviously, I'm just crossing my fingers, which is not a great thing to do in business, is it? I'm just hoping, and that's the annoying thing about the Amazon business model. As much as the FBA, there's so many positives to it, but the massive negative is that Jeff Bezos is still our boss, really, isn't he? So it's a bit annoying having to cater to them when you want to grow your business, but they're not
Why
letting you.
not? Why not set up the Amazon accounts an additional just in case? So you have a backup ready. So then you're just not waiting on Bezos to.
Yeah, I've got one other account, but with a new account, you've still only got 1,000 limit, right? So I'd have to
Yeah,
build that up.
but no, but that one you do the wholesale thing, right? So you use 500 units for the wholesale every month, and then you do books. No, why not, Tom?
You do the wholesale through the main account to build
No,
that
but
one
you
up
can't.
quicker.
You can't because you have
Exactly, yeah, and we've got
you
more
have an excess
feedback.
of 5,000
No,
units.
he's limited in the book storage space, not the small and light
Are
storage
they
space.
different?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was all standard. Well, either
No,
way,
is it all
it would
standard?
have to be
I'm
free
sure it's
standard.
standard.
Well, there's footwear and apparel. There's oversize. There's standard, and then there's one more, isn't there?
Well, if it's fine, yeah, I just do it through the main account because you want to build that. I do both. Do your small and light, find a wholesaler, bang, churn it through. That's a simple process. And then the next one is build 3 more accounts. Create 3 more companies, build 3 more accounts. Just decide like 3 core selling book companies, and then just churn them. 3 core selling book brands, for example. And then decide and what your goal is think about say for example it's Hasbro. I don't know, it's not a book, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, I'm going to look at my inventory last year and look at roughly what brands of books would equal a total of about 1,000 units, and then I'm going to churn them through that new account because they'll always equal about 1,000, fine, or maybe 600 for example. So you just want to kind of get them moving, and then do another account and do another account, and all you're going to do is just build them out slowly. But your goal is not, it could be Q4, it could be Q1. You're now sat on 45,000 books, and you're now doing 5 million turnover at an insane profit margin.
Yeah, so I'll have to create a new business for every single account, right? Yeah,
it's the same conversation we had in Cancun. I said 24-hour purchasing.
That's worked well.
Is that what you're doing now?
Yeah, for sure. There's always eyes on screens.
Yeah,
always, which is good. But yeah, something to think about. Tough times at Seth Books.
But the question comes is do you really care? It's a lot of administration, and you're making good money now. Do you really want all the hassle to do the extra money? How much does the money mean to you? And I think you make more money now than you can spend, and you're like, you could spend it if you wanted to, of course, but
Needs a Lambo.
I don't think your life is that extravagant.
Yeah, I could buy a Lambo, but I wouldn't be able to pay for fuel.
Drive it in Russia.
Is that because the petrol people are on strike?
Yeah.
No gas stations.
You can get the fuel and then buy it. Yeah, I think the question comes is you can go all these routes. Create wholesale, small and light, whatever, OA, flip it, multiple accounts, multiple businesses.
How much do you want it?
And the next question is do you really care? And also, what's your goal?
It's a great question. Yeah. I've because of all this restock limits, I've actually been thinking about whether I want to start a business in something that's not Amazon.
Agreed.
Something completely different.
Agreed.
For example, I was just going to say there's no good gyms in London. It would be cool to start a gym. I like the gym. I'd know how to run it. Something like that.
Yeah, fine.
But we'll see.
And I talked about it on one of my lives the other day. I was like, I want to take out probably 150,000 out of the company and invest in some property. Someone was like, why don't you start private label? I was like, because I'm so invested in Amazon and e-com, and if that industry has a decline one year, I'm not, but business is going to be a challenge. Whereas I want asset diversification across different asset classes, which I think is really
and
important.
also I want to be intellectually stimulated. Whereas I feel like with books, I've kind of taken it to the limit of my intellectual capacity. I don't know what more I can do to get enjoyment out of it. Well, no, that was just an example. I've not fully thought about it yet, but I think gym has different challenges. Like you'd be building an email list, you'd probably sell merch, you'd have to your finances would have to be a lot more in check because my margins aren't as high as books, right? So it would be a very different challenge to physical products. So obviously I don't know if it would stimulate me enough, but it's just the fact that it's so different. Brick and mortar versus what we're currently doing. It's total opposite, isn't it?
Do also just be careful of the fact that as entrepreneurs, we do get shiny object syndrome, and we like to bounce in new things. I think Alex Hormozy talked about it. He basically walked down his street and there's a guy who he kind of, he was in the street and said, the guy said, I've just come out of my non-compete clause. And Alex was like, hey, cool, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to go back and build exactly the same business again. He's like, why? It's because that's what I know. It works. It was like a trash collection business. And he was like, that's, it made him think in the fact that he's like, as entrepreneurs, we keep, we build a marketing agency to 5 million and then we want to go develop software. And you're like, I kind of understand, but it's a completely different ballpark. We tend to do that. We do lots of little things and don't really kind of build something big. There's another trail of thought that I think about, which is around Google. Google says if you can't affect 1 million people, don't bother doing it. And I kind of that's the thing where I talk about, like, Gavin and I had this conversation, like we talked about books yesterday and like shoes and things and different other stuff, like even like gift cards for shoes. And it was like, I like helping other people and I like doing that. And my problem comes if I go and do a business model whereby maybe it might be insanely profitable for me, but if I can't help other people, then I have no meaning in it. So again, it's kind of back to your why, like what do you want?
Yeah, meaning is definitely very important alongside the intellectual side, I guess. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's mainly just because I'm annoyed that there's no good gyms, so I'm scratching my own itch, which is something Tim Ferriss talks about a lot. And sometimes that's something you've got to do, right? Scratch your own itch, and then maybe you'll find a gap in the market and something that's not saturated. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, Gavin?
About making your own gym?
Well, just anything really. You just haven't spoken about
when you were saying that, I was thinking, because recently I was thinking, I want to start a kefir company, make my own kefir grains and stuff. That'd be super cool. So random. Because we all have like these random stuff that we like.
That is random.
Like, just get an idea. Because I was thinking, like, the margin must be so high on it. Because it's not expensive, but the bottles sell for so much money. So it's just when you were talking about having the gym, I was like, reminds me of the kefir company that I want to create at some point. But I'd be very interested in creating like a supplement brand, like a health and supplement brand. That's probably what I'd want to do. That would be super cool.
Well, that's kind of private. That's kind of a private label-esque, isn't it? Really.
You could do it out. You can do it on Shopify. You'd do it that way. I wouldn't. I tell people now that, hey, I'm thinking about creating a brand, and like, don't do it on Amazon. Like, I'm not saying don't do it on Amazon. Like, don't sell on Amazon, not at all. But I'm saying like, make your focus on Shopify and have Amazon as a channel, but don't focus all your energy on Amazon. And the reason is when I spoke to like Amazon aggregators, they were like, we're only looking for brands now that sell on other channels and have a good presence outside of Amazon. They're not interested in just Amazon only brands.
Yeah, it's got so much harder to do supplements. I remember when I first started doing Amazon in 2018 in January, I followed a couple of people, and there's one private label guy I followed, and he was one of the first people in the UK to do supplements. And I think all he did was just go on Alibaba or whatever, just find like a white label, like a green tea supplement, and all he did is just slap a really shit looking label on it, and he was making thousands and thousands of profit per month. But I can't remember what happened to him. I think what he did, he thought he had more money than he did. One of those classic young entrepreneurs, ended up buying like the Lambos, doing all that stuff, and then he ran out of money. And then by the time he like realized he screwed up his finances, then the market had overtaken him, and he realized he wasn't smart enough to, like, obviously everyone else's branding was much better. And I just like find it quite interesting how over 4 years or 5 years how fast the market has like gone. Like, it's so difficult to like sell a green tea product now, right? Because there's thousands of other people doing it. I would be so scared to do private label now, especially supplements. Like Gav, you said about doing that. Like I would scare the shit out of me.
I'd be interested in doing like a very, like, you'd have to like niche it. I'd be interested in creating like a very specific probiotic strain into a yogurt and then marketing that as like a gut repair. Because I have a condition called Crohn's, so I take a lot of probiotics to help with my issue, right? So there's certain things that I would want that aren't there, that if I could buy it and drink it, I'd buy it. So
there you go, scratching your own itch.
Yeah.
There you go.
But then one top tip I'd say for you, and I know this from a girl who has like a skin condition, the way, she does like multiple 7 figures in year 2 selling through TikTok only. And what, TikTok to Shopify is incredible. Like her journey, I was like, wow, the Medu. Like I met her in person. But you have to build an audience, you have to build a following, you have to talk about it and do it all. So like I get your point about the product. The product might be great, but if you, by the way, like we know this, it doesn't matter how good your product is. If you can't market it, it doesn't matter. So your job is learning how to market it. So like scratching your own itch is fantastic. You've got to sell it. Same with gym. Alex Hormozy gym launch. Like
I have so much stuff to do anyway on Amazon yet that it's not in the pipeline. But it could be at some point. But yeah, you're right. But I'd imagine at that point with like all social media, I would have a big enough audience that if I wanted to promote some health products or products in general, it'd be a lot easier than someone who's coming in with like from scratch.
Maybe, but it depends on your audience. If your audience are all shoe resellers and now you're trying to sell them healthy vitamins, they're probably not going to be interested. They're like, does the healthy vitamins make me money? No, not interested. Not saying that they wouldn't.
Yeah, there's no crossover.
Yeah, it's not. It's a different audience type.
But they might be interested in your journey in creating that brand, and then that could give you exposure. Like obviously not the right exposure necessarily, but
that's just a thought for the future. I'd be like, if I do that, it's gonna be like three or 4 years away. I've got no interest in doing it anytime soon. I have too much to do already right now.
Yeah, I think that's the same with me. As much as I've got a lot of it outsourced, for example, with this whole FBM situation, that I've obviously had to be a lot more hands-on, just because I can't really take on too much.
Agree. Should we call it a day there?
I think so.
So, final things.
Next
Chris,
week.
next week, top tips, discussion points.
I
I think we
was just
should
gonna
plan for
say-
2023. Go on.
Exactly, like plans for 2023, and also let's talk about doing a 2022 year review, because I did one last year and I found it very valuable. So I'll be interested to hear if you guys do that. If you do, what process you take, and that'll be enough to talk about next week. I think be a nice New Year's edition.
Perfect.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, do hit the like button. Drop us a comment down below. Maybe let you know how your week's been. Maybe let us know what you're planning for 2023 before we actually do that, so we can get an idea. But from myself, thank you very much.
If you guys
Gavin,
are lucky, you might see this by like July next year. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, maybe a little bit later than that. Cheers, guys.
Peace
take
out.
care.
Ciao
Bye bye.
for now.